Hey family, it's Tracy. Hi, I am back for blog number 12. It is Saturday, July 19th, 2014. It's a beautiful day here in Delaware. I have been up since about 6 something this morning, just, chilling. But also I think I got up around 8 and started cleaning and shampooing carpets and things like that. So I am done with that. I'm washing clothes, I have ribs on the stove, and I will probably make a cake a little later. But in the meantime, I decided I wanted to come online and do another blog. I'm really trying to get myself back in the habit of doing blogs on a regular basis. Um, I think I've done 2 over the last few weeks, so this will be the third. I don't know if it's the third in July or it might be the third one in July. Um, but I like to at least try to do 2 a month. Um, but for this particular blog, I wanted the topic to be around forgiveness. And I don't know why it's just been on my mind a lot lately to kind of do a blog on the subject, but it has. Um, and I know we hear people speak a lot about the importance of forgiving others, the importance of forgiveness, and I absolutely agree with that. I don't believe in forgiving and forgetting, but I do believe in forgiving. I think that, sometimes when you forget, you open yourself up to be in the same situation. But to me, forgiveness is very, very important, extremely important, actually, because it is true what they say that forgiveness is more for you than for the other person. I think that when people do things to hurt us, it weighs it leaves a dark spot on your spirit, or on your soul. And when that happens, when you hold on to that, sometimes that dark spot gets even darker or it gets even bigger, and eventually it could end up just weighing you down and um, impacting your happiness and your health. And you know, for one, I think when I was younger, I really had a hard time with forgiveness. I really did. I always believed if I treated someone right or did the right thing and someone did something to me to hurt me, um, it was because it was unjust, then I just held on to that. And I think that had a lot to do with my unhappiness, growing up, uh, especially being a teenager. I think teenage years are hard anyway, but when you when you hold on to negatives in your life, it just makes it harder. So that's, really when you don't forgive, that's what you're doing. You're holding on to those negative feelings and those negative vibes, and it's darkening who you are and your soul and your spirit. So, that's why I truly believe that forgiveness is more for you, because when you forgive, you let that go. You get rid of that darkness that's overshadowing your happiness and your spirit and your soul, and you're moving that out to way to allow some of the positive and the good things to come in your life. Um, I think that, as human beings, we all make mistakes. We all have done something at some point in our lives that we wish we could take back, hurt people we've cared about, um, things like that. And I think for the most part, when things happen in your life that hurt you, it is because we're human, and as humans, we do things, that are selfish, or we do things without consideration for others. I mean, of course, there are people out there in the world who are just evil and just do things to hurt others just because they can. But I think for the most part, in the vast majority of the time, it's just, us being imperfect creatures. So, that's why it's important to forgive. And if you heard that, that's my air freshener, if you heard that sound. Um, But I think it's very important to forgive the people in your lives, and forgive people who do, things in your life to hurt you, for the reasons I stated. Um, I think that, you know, uh, I just think back to when I was younger, and just to give you a story about how important forgiveness is. When I was young, when I was a child, my mom, we moved around a lot. I mean, I think we moved around at least 2 times a year. My mom was a single mother, and she had to do what she had to do to keep a roof over me and my sister's head. Um, and so at one point, I think I was 4, so that would make my sister about 10. Um, at one point, we had moved to North Carolina, and we were staying with my grandparents in Whiteville, where my mom was from, and a lot of my mom's family um, live. And I think I'm not sure what happened, but my mom had a disagreement with her parents, and she ended up moving into this rooming house with us. And the lady who owned the rooming house, what name was Miss Sarah? I think she might have just had one room for rent, and we were living in it. And you know, Miss Sarah was an older lady, and um, you know, my mom, I guess she really liked her since she opened her house to us. Um, However, Miss Sarah was one of those people who, I don't know if she just didn't really care too much for kids, or what have you, but she'd act a certain way when my mom was around, but when she wasn't around, she would act differently toward me and my sister. And anyway, at some point while we were living there, my mom had made the decision to come back to Delaware. And I can't quite remember if when she left, she took my sister with her and just left me with Miss Sarah, or if she left to go back up to Delaware and left me and my sister, and then came back and got my sister and left me for a little while longer. Um, I want to say it's the latter, but to be honest, I don't quite remember the sequence of events. What I do remember is that even though, at 4 years old, I knew Miss Sarah acted differently when my mom wasn't around. Um, I didn't I don't think I thought she was being mean or anything, and I think that had a lot to do with my sister. I think my sister may have shielded me from a lot of the way that Miss Sarah acted, or maybe it might have been just because I was with my sister, and when my sister was around, I felt safer or more comfortable, regardless of what Miss Sarah said or did. But anyway, so when my mom and my sister went back up to Delaware, and I was left with Miss Sarah, she completely did a 180 from what I remember, how she was when my mom was there. And she actually physically abused me for a time while I was living with her. And I don't remember how long it was, but when you're a kid, things seem like forever. It might have only been a few weeks, maybe a month or so, but it just seemed like forever I was in that situation. Um, And the only reason I got out of it was because I had remembered my grandparents' phone number. And one time when Miss Sarah wasn't around, and I snuck and called my grandparents. And, I was crying on the phone to them to come and get me. And Miss Sarah actually walked in on me on the phone and snatched the phone from me. And I don't recall what she said to my grandparents or my grandmother or what have you, but all I know is probably within an hour or so, my grandparents were at the door, and they thankfully removed me from that situation. And, that was a very traumatic experience for me, going through that type of abuse from someone. I had never experienced anything like that. My mom never beat me or anything like that. I think one time my mom, you know, spanked my leg for biting my sister, but anyway, so my grandparents and my uncle actually came and rescued me from the situation and kept me until my mom came back to get me from Miss Sarah's. I mean, from North Carolina to take me up to Delaware. Um, but some years later, my mom, I had gone by my mom's house, and I think I was in my 20s. Gone by my mom's house, and she had mentioned to me, she said, "Oh, Miss Sarah died." And and I was kind of like, so, you know, that was just my attitude. It was like, so. And my mom said, "Don't be that way. She took us in when we didn't have a place to stay, and she looked after you and this and that." And I said, "Mom, she beat me, she abused me. What are you talking about?" And my mom said, my mom was like, she just poo-pooed and was like, "Whatever, you were just spoiled, and she didn't beat you." And this topic had come up several times as I grew up. I mean, my grandparents told my mom that the woman had physically abused me. Even the neighbors next to Miss Sarah actually had told my grandparents when they came by to get me about the situation as well, because they had seen it. But when my grandparents had talked to my mom about it, my mom didn't believe them. Um, but, like I said, the topic had come up over the years, and my mom just never believed it. And that really hurt me. It hurt my heart that my mother did not believe that this woman had actually physically abused me. It just did something to me. And I feel like for a while, I held on to that grudge as it related to my mother, um, as hard as I held on to the grudge that related to Miss Sarah, for what she did to me. Miss Sarah for hurting me physically, and my mom for hurting me by excusing what this woman did to me. So I carried that with me for a very long time. And I ended up, I don't know what happened in my life, but at some point I realized that I was so unhappy um, with the things in my life and with myself. And when I really took a look at who I was and where I was in my life at that time, and I realized a lot of it was because I was holding on to the pain from things that had happened to me in my life. And as a result, I couldn't love myself. I couldn't be happy with myself. I couldn't go for things that would make me happy. I just settled for the things that came my way, good or bad. I, I was just a very lost soul, probably more than anything else, with just being depressed and not liking who I was and thinking I was ugly and thinking I didn't deserve anything good in my life. And unfortunately that went on for way too long. But what I learned was that when I finally started letting go of that pain and for when I made up my mind to forgive Miss Sarah for what she did to me, um, I felt lighter. And I mean, people say that and you think that, it's just a saying, but it truly is. When you let go of those things on your soul that are weighing you down, it makes you feel lighter. I mean, you immediately feel light coming back into your life. And that's what I had to learn to do. I had to learn that, I will never understand the reason why this woman did what she did to me. Um, I will not excuse it. Um, but I can't keep holding on to that pain because it's not hurting anyone but me. Um, so I had to let that go. Um, and same with, how my mom reacted to the situation. I had to let go of that pain. The truth of the matter, is, you know, I had to realize me and my mom would never see eye to eye on that situation. But I knew my mom loved me and I loved her. Um, you know, I had to learn to let that go. That pain from her not seeing what that woman did to me, or acknowledging what that woman did to me. Um, and in the grand scheme of things, when my mom was dying, none of that mattered. You know, when I knew I was going to lose my mom and she was going to leave this world, um, all of that hurt I felt before didn't even cross my mind, you know, at all. So, and it put it in perspective. All that is just, you know, a part of being human, a part of life, a part of who we are. People are never going to be exactly who we want them to be or who we expect them to be. And as a result, you have to learn to let some things go and get on with your life. Now, you know, I think so, you know, and again, just because you're forgiving someone doesn't mean that you have to pick things up where they left off. I mean, there's some people who you can forgive and you know it was a mistake and you can keep a relationship with, but there's other people that, you know, you forgive and you just don't deal with anymore because you know that it's an unhealthy situation for you to continue a relationship with that person. So, you know, I think each of us have to judge the best course of action when it comes to those relationships, but you know, the importance is the forgiving part. The importance is not letting those things weigh on your soul, and who you are, and letting them change um, who you are, you know, and letting them hold you back from being the type of person you want to be. Um, So really, that's what I wanted to say about forgiveness of others. But I think even more importantly, I want to talk about forgiving yourself. So, um, you know, forgiving yourself for making mistakes, forgiving yourself for making bad choices, and loving yourself. You know, again, we are not perfect. We all make mistakes. We all make bad choices. We all do things we wish we could take back. But the main thing is you have to forgive yourself. You have to learn that, you know, you have to recognize that you're not perfect. You are an imperfect creature. You know, God did not create you to be perfect. Um, but what you do is you let go of those things that, you know, you're ashamed of, or things that you wish you could take back, and you learn from them and you make a commitment to yourself to be a better version of you. Um, you know, I think really that's those are the main things I want to say to you guys today. So for any of my grandkids or great grandkids who may see this, you know, love yourself more than anything and forgive yourself. You know, you never know what tomorrow holds. You never know what how much longer you have on this earth. So don't keep kicking yourself for the mistakes that you made in life. Um, you know, always apologize for those mistakes, you know, and especially when you hurt people that you care about, and you commit to yourself and to them to not let those things happen again. Um, and if you're in a situation where you know you're stuck and you don't know how to forgive yourself, or you don't know how to move on from a situation, you know, talk to someone, talk to a pastor. It's okay to get help, you know. Talk to her, you know, a psychologist, a counselor, someone that can help you put things into perspective, um, so that you can move on from where you're at in your life. So anyway, I went on way longer than I wanted to. So you know, family and anyone who may see this, you know, I hope I what I said makes sense and you can get something out of it. But I wish you all the best, and I hope you are doing things to forgive yourself and be happy and to forgive others. And again, when you forgive, you open yourself up to so much positivity and so many good things to come into your life. So please just focus on that. Okay? All right. And until we meet again, love you. Have a good one. Bye.